Okay, friends, I want to welcome all of you. Welcome everyone to our April 2025 Framing the Future webinar, which is focused on the Urban Forestry Careers Camp program of the Maryland Forestry Foundation. I want to welcome all of you to today's program. We have an exciting set of presenters who are intimately involved and deeply committed to the work that lies ahead of us for July of 2025. I want to remind all of you that the program is being recorded and will be available on marylandforestryfoundation.org website within a few days after the completion of this program, along with all the other programs that have been a part of this series. It is my pleasure not only to, on behalf of the foundation, to bring the series to all of you, but also to introduce our moderator for this series, Megan Carr, who is one of our former Merrill Fellows and currently an urban forester in the city of Baltimore. Megan, please introduce our panelists for today's program.
Thank you, Gary. And a brief housekeeping note for our friends who are joining us in the audience. If you have questions for our speakers today, we absolutely welcome those. So please enter those in the Q&A function. That should be at the bottom of your screen. We'll have time at the end of today's session to address any questions that you have that come up throughout today's discussion. And I'll also note, if you were forwarded a link to register for this webinar, you can get on our mailing list directly by going to marylandforestryfoundation.org and looking for the webinars page, where in addition to watching all of our previous webinar entries, you can sign up for our mailing list. We only notify you of the upcoming events. It's about once a month. We won't spam you. So with that, we will turn things over to our speakers today. And to give you an idea of the caliber of folks that are participants in Urban Forestry Careers Camp get to work with, let me introduce our two speakers for the day. We're joined by Doctors Joe Sullivan and Bill Hubbard. Joe Sullivan is a professor and associate dean for academic programs in the College of Agriculture and Natural Resources at the University of Maryland. He received his PhD in plant physiology from Clemson University in 1985, when he joined the university as a faculty research associate in the Department of Botany. As Associate Dean, he's responsible for the administration and coordination of all academic programs in the college. He formerly taught courses in environmental science, plant structure and function, forest ecology, vegetation sampling and data analysis, and advanced plant ecophysiology, and directs the urban forestry program at the University of Maryland's Department of Plant Science and Landscape Architecture. He served from 2015 to 2017 as the interim director of the Environmental Science and Policy Program. His research includes studies on the response of plants, trees and forests in particular, to environmental stress, ultraviolet radiation, and climate change. In addition, he also studies urban forests and the assessment of ecological services such as carbon storage and sequestration in urban trees and forests. We're also joined by Dr. Bill Hubbard, who holds degrees in forest management and forest economics from the University of Florida, where he also served as a statewide extension specialist in forest and for urban forestry. His work spanned Florida, nationally and internationally, including a USAID assignment in Zaire, which is now known as the Democratic Republic of Congo. And he co-directed the Urban Forestry Institute, a partnership between UF and the USDA Forest Service, which trained professionals in urban forest management, as well as contributing to university-level instruction in the field. In 1993, Dr. Hubbard became the Southern Regional Extension Forester, supporting 13 land-grant extension programs and the USDA Forest Service based at the University of Georgia. He later earned a PhD in adult education, leadership, and program evaluation from UGA in 2010. In 2019, he joined the University of Maryland Extension as state program leader and assistant director, overseeing environmental, natural resources, and sea grant programs. He currently provides leadership for over 40 faculty and staff working in areas including forestry, wildlife, aquaculture, watershed protection, energy conservation, climate resiliency, and home horticulture across the state of Maryland. Dr. Hubbard has led several multi-state, multidisciplinary USDA and NOAA-funded initiatives related to climate change, bioenergy, flood resiliency, and aquaculture. He's authored or co-authored over 100 publications, including refereed articles, extension pieces, and book chapters, and he is active in professional societies such as the Association of Natural Resource Extension Professionals, where he served as president and executive secretary, as well as the Society of American Foresters, where he was named a fellow in 2018, and the International Union of Forest Research Organizations, where he is deputy director of the Extension and Knowledge Exchange Working Party. He and his wife Joni reside in Annapolis, Maryland, where they enjoy the culture and natural beauty of the Chesapeake Bay. So thank you very much to both of you for carving time out today. I will turn things over to you.
Thanks, everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen then, Megan. If that comes up. Hopefully folks can see the slides now. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. We're going to talk a little bit about the Urban Forestry Careers Camp and moving forward, framing the future. Bill and I are going to tag team a little bit in here, and we'll bring him back on shortly. Unless you want to say a brief hello, Bill, first.
Hello.
Good, thanks. So yeah, framing the future requires, in my mind, looking at the past a little bit. So I want to go back and explain a little bit about why we're here. Let's see, my slide changer's not seeming to work. There it goes. Talk a little bit about the origins of the program, the need for the camp, who we are, highlights from 2024, and looking ahead to 2025. This will be the second year we've held this camp, and we're very excited. We think we learned a lot the first time, so we hope so. We're excited about presenting the program again. And looking to the past, I got a couple of people I wanted to show, and I purposely didn't put their names on there because I don't know who's online and whether you know these gentlemen or not. But about the I guess I should say the turn of the century. I've finally learned to say that and mean 2000 instead of 1900. But around the late 90s or the early 2000s, we were approached by a core of individuals from the workforce, and they said they don't have enough people to do the jobs. They needed more career development. Would we be interested in developing a program in urban forestry to help career development and the workforce in that area? On the left, I don't know if you can see my pointer or not. This is Peter Becker, retired from Bartlett Tree Experts. A wonderful person that I've kept up with Peter a little bit since he retired, and just you couldn't have a better friend in the program than Peter and Bartlett, and that continues today. Mike Galvin, looking a little young there. Mike Galvin was with the DNR at the time that we started this program. He's with Save a Tree now. If you might be able to see his logo on there now. Mike Galvin was instrumental in getting the program going. Jim Mallow, state forester at the time. Many of you know Jim probably if you've been around a while. Jim retired from the state forester and was replaced by Steve Kane, who was instrumental in getting our program going. I think of Steve as kind of the second generation, but I could have put his picture up here just as well in there. And then a dear friend that we lost recently, Steve Genua, was a arborist and tree expert for Pepco Energy, and just a wonderful person, and was so helpful in so many ways. And we miss having Steve around. I served on the MAC ISA board with Steve and had a lot of interactions with him. So those guys were really the impetus for the program. They came to us. It's a little unusual in academics to start a program from the outside. Typically, old academics like me think they know what people want and try to offer it, but this one came the other way. It came from the industry, and we were delighted to help develop that program. I got involved as Megan was kind enough to read some background. I'm not a forester. I study trees and plants, and for some reason my department chair at the time thought that meant I was an urban forester, so he put me involved with the program. We were also fortunate enough that Marla McIntosh, who was some of you may know Marla. Marla is a legitimate forester, as far as statistician and other things. Marla stepped down from the job that I'm currently doing as associate dean and was interested in the program. So Marla and Jim kind of headed the administration of the program, and I sort of worked with the students back in those back in those days. And I've been with the program ever since. And as Megan said, I still advise the students in the program, even today when I'm over here in the dean's office, academic dean's office. So why the camp? What are some things that led to the study and the development of urban forestry, and how can this camp fit in that? One of the things that we've had, to be perfectly honest, is consistent low enrollment in the program. We have really good students, and some of you might be out there. We have really good students. I think they all got jobs. They all got good jobs. Our first student to graduate, Adam Tankersley. I don't know if Adam might be on there, but I believe he's the first person that went through the whole program, works at Pope Farm in Montgomery County, and has been there, I think, pretty much the full time. So our students always get employed, yet we don't get the numbers. So somewhere there's a message that's not getting out there about what the careers are, about what you can do with them, how you can be successful in urban forestry. So that's one of the reasons behind the camp. We worked with SAF, Society of American Foresters. I mentioned Steve and others that really helped us with them. We went through the candidacy status for an affiliated program that has implications for workforce development and what kind of job you can hold based on where you graduated and those sort of things. Unfortunately, we ended up needing more foresters. So we were in a conundrum. We were in an academic conundrum, and they worked with us very good. I enjoyed my relationships with SAF. I'm still a member of SAF, but I finally said, look, you got to tell us exactly what we need in terms of people. We had Marla, we had a few foresters, but not a great number of real forestry people, which I'm not, so I don't count in that system. I study trees, but I'm not a forester. So they finally said you need to hire 2 people. That's where the low enrollment number reared its ugly head. So I went to the deans and the administrator, and we need to hire 2 people. Well, you've got 6 students. We're not hiring 2 faculty. So it became a chicken and egg. It became a chicken and egg phenomenon. So we ended up, unfortunately, we're not with SAF anymore in terms of accredited SAF program. Something I would love to see come back one day, and perhaps as we generate more interest, that can be a reality. Along with that same time, we were doing a lot of communication and interactions with Virginia Tech and West Virginia. So Susan Day, who's at UBC now, was at Virginia Tech then. Some of you may know Susan or Eric, who's still at Virginia Tech, and Greg Dahl at West Virginia. So we got together and we started talking about our programs, different level programs, different type of programs. You had a minor at West Virginia. We had a concentration here. Eric and Susan have a forestry program, as does West Virginia. We don't have a forestry program here. So they were able to move some students into urban forestry that maybe didn't know what it was or had issues with it. Wanted to be a regular forester and kind of changed their mind, looked at the job market and so forth. So we all had different program types, but we all shared the same low number of students. So we thought, let's not fight each other for those few students. Let's evaluate urban forestry and the career development aspect of that. So we were funded. Greg and I were partners and co-investigators with Susan and Eric, who were funded through NUTFAC, the National Urban Community Forestry Group, in a program called A Regional Approach to Understanding Urban Forestry Workforce, Building Its Capacity Through Collegiate Programs. So we took a real deep dive into who are urban foresters, what are urban foresters, what are the careers, what's the career tracks in urban forestry, and we found out what you probably already know, and that people get there in a variety of different ways. One of the things we do at camp is everyone that speaks to our kids or visits us, or those of us on campus, we all tell our stories. We all tell them how we got to be. It's real interesting if you look at Bartlett Trees, for example. It's still a great friend of our camp. Their folks all told where they came from. Some of them went to a 4-year program. Some of them went to a 2-year program. Some might go to our certificate program. Some learn on the job, right? There's no better teacher than experience. So some learn on the job to get where they want to be. So there's many roads that lead to urban forestry, and urban forestry means different things to different people. We have the Bartlett approach, arborist, tree care, aspects of urban forestry, hugely important, but you can go from that more tree care and management to all the way to the landscape architecture, to designs, right? So there's a broad spectrum, there's a broad number of degrees that get you into urban forestry, and a lot of them are not named urban forestry. Some of them are named horticulture, some are named landscape architecture, some are named plant science. So they come in, there are many fields to get into this, but generally speaking, the population is not really aware of what urban forestry is. We had a little video that we showed. So we went to colleges, all of our universities, and as well as others, and gave people a questionnaire on urban forestry, showed them a 5-minute video, and then gave them the questionnaire again. And they went from, I don't know what it is, to, wow, that's an interesting field. So we clearly aren't messaging well enough. Another reason for the camp. Another reason to message what's out there and what's available to get kids interested in it when they're young. Veterinary medicine is our largest program in our college. Everybody knows what a vet is. Everybody is told if they have a kitty or a puppy, you should be a vet, right? I was too. I started my undergraduate degree in pre-vet, and I came out in forest ecology. So sometimes we don't know where we're going, but the earlier we make students aware of what's out there, the better off we're going to be. So having said all of that, then I get a call from Gary Allen. And I don't know, Gary, it was at least a decade ago. And he said, what if we had a camp? And we started working on that. There were different meetings. We thought we were getting somewhere. And then we had this thing called COVID came along, and that knocked us back again. It took a little while to recover from that. But as an exercise in persistence, here we are today. We're ready for year 2 of our camp. So all of these people that I've mentioned are really behind and responsible for this. We're excited about the camp moving forward, and Maryland legislatures provide funds through Maryland DNR, Maryland Forestry Foundation, obviously handles the funds, and then we run the camp here and host the camp at the University of Maryland, where facility management, our campus arboretum is involved, our faculty are involved, Bill Extension is involved, our student service counselors. We were fortunate enough to find a young lady named Becky Tedder that just took the students under her wing and took care of everything that wasn't academic. She got them to the swimming pool. She got them to the ropes course. She got them to meals. She played games with them at night. She and her counselors, most of which were University of Maryland students, some urban forestry students that were working with those students. Bill Hubbard was involved, and Bill's taking a bigger role for next year. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Bill to talk about his involvement.
Thank you very much, Joe. And yeah, what a wonderful summary of some of the history that you've been involved with in urban forestry, and similarly, or just right on track with what you said. I didn't know much about urban forestry at all when I graduated at University of Florida, but I was really excited and thrilled to be asked to stay on after my master's at the University of Florida to become an extension forester for a faculty member that had gone on sabbatical. And so I felt like Top Gun. I was graduating from forestry school and then asked to stay on to actually teach students that were not that much younger than me. But the truth about if you really want to learn a topic, learn it well enough to teach it to others. So my first day on the job, I was asked to write a grant. And of course, this is 30 some years ago, and the grant was to create something called the Urban Forestry Institute. And the idea was what we affectionately called retrofitting the forestry profession to deal more with trees and cities and communities, and a burgeoning interest by the USDA Forest Service through some funding efforts. So that's how I got involved in urban forestry, believe it or not. And it's been a career-long interest of mine since that first day in 1988, believe it or not. But just quickly, a little bit about my background. And again, I'm really thrilled to be a participant, to be approached by Joe, first of all, last year to talk a little bit at the summer camp, but then by Gary and Joe to actually be the face of the camp this year, which is great because all the hard work has been done. You guys really have done a wonderful job with much of the program planning, but I'm excited to roll up my sleeves and get there and spend the week with this next generation of citizens that'll be taking care of our trees and our cities and our communities. But I did, as a transplanted Midwesterner, studied forestry in the heart of the pine plantation world there in the South, and spent some time in Florida, and then believe it or not, took a job at the rival school. So anybody that went to school at the University of Florida would not be seen dead on the University of Georgia's campus. But in the southern region, Georgia was king, and they still are as far as forestry schools. And so I took an interesting job that was actually a regional forester. And the idea was much like the Maryland Forest Foundation or any other group. It's a collaboration of 13 land-grant universities, the agriculture and forestry colleges, the extension directors, and the USDA Forest Service state and private southern region, SPF. That's not sun protection factor there. That's southern state and private forestry. So burgeoning interest back in the early 90s. As Joe mentioned, a lot of the schools started to get into developing some urban forestry certificates and programs. Forest Service had a lot of grant funding, and they really were able to fund professionals in every state forestry office in the country, I believe, or parts of one, to be an urban forestry coordinator and a grants coordinator. So that's the start of the first big wave, or the second big wave of urban forestry. And so I was able to really enjoy that career for about 20, 25 years. A couple of projects I'll mention moving forward that I think are relevant to our efforts here moving forward are a website, a regional website called Urban Forestry South. So back when Al Gore invented the internet, that was pretty cool, interesting thing to create these things called websites. And someone like myself who was working 13 states, it was easier for us to kind of collaborate via the internet and than for me to jump on a plane or drive out to Texas A&M in College Park or Stillwater at Oklahoma State. So the internet really brought this regional position I worked in together in so many different ways. That Urban Forestry South website is still up and running, still has a vast amount of resources on there, and it's just a great, pretty much online warehouse for urban forestry materials that are southern based, but actually a lot of that is relevant to the whole country. And then the other thing we received some funding for is to create an online open source urban forestry short course, again, for professionals, allied professionals that might get into urban forestry. You know, they might be an arborist or a landscape manager, or, you know, anybody really that could take it. Maybe they were at a community college and wanted to get some more information on urban forestry, and that course is still up and running as well. So I invite you to go check those two websites out. But then, as Megan said, I started this job here in 2019, and again, a lot of different programming areas, a lot of different faculty to work with, but urban forestry has always been an interest of mine, and continues to be. So next slide. So here's just a screenshot of that Urban Forestry South website that I encourage you to look at. And again, we hope it continues. It looks like it's been a couple of years since some new content has been added. There is some new changes at the Forest Service, and we do hope that that continues on. But just some great resources up there for anybody that's teaching urban forestry or wants to know a little bit about the different components. Okay, next slide. Here's a little screenshot of the eLearn urban forestry course you can take. And again, it's several modules and self-paced, and has withstood the test of time. So if you're interested in learning more about that course, that would be elearn.sref.info. Next slide. Here's just an example of one of the modules. You can actually sit down and take some pre-tests and post-tests and learn a little bit about various aspects of the urban forest. And just as Joe is a kind of a physiologist, biology end of urban forestry, I found that I didn't have this same aptitude in that area, and I rotated more to like the economics and the policy and the management, um, in engagement kinds of things. And so that's the one end of the spectrum from Joe. And so that's my interest is looking at the urban forest and how to finance urban forest, how the big picture sustainability levels of urban forestry are, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but highly compatible, I think, with those that are interested in the biology, culture, and protection of trees and forests. Next slide. So Gary did give me an opportunity to briefly touch on, say, a philosophy or a strategy I might bring to the table over and above the camp. I'm super excited about spending a week with those at the camp, but I think ultimately we hope that kids that go through this camp, that if we can get some kids into the program at the University of Maryland, that we can really go and build a strong urban forestry, urban and community forestry, green infrastructure, uh, professional workforce into the future. And so my ideas here, next slide, Joe, if you don't mind, I'll just a little bit of a mind dump, so to speak, as to what I would like to do if the opportunity becomes a reality to be the state's first ever extension urban and community forester. I think there's just a wonderful network of people in this state, throughout the region, throughout the country that are working in this area that I think we can coalesce and bring together to highlight the importance of value, and then, actual management through new technologies, through tried and true science, the application of science and new knowledge on all of our communities, from the highly rural to the highly urban. So my lifelong work in extension leads me to think of what we call as a logic model, which is actually very logical. You start with identifying your audience and identifying what their needs, educational and training needs are, and then you jump in with a program. And I think this summer urban forestry camp is a great way to jump into something like that. I think we have extension agents and DNR foresters throughout the state that we can develop some online or face-to-face training for. I think there are other youth camps. There are in-school teacher and training opportunities. There's our built-in 4-H program, which if you don't know much about that or haven't been involved in that, it's just an amazing opportunity to provide leadership skills and communication skills to our youth. And I think we have a huge interest in this programming area in that next generation. We just have to give it to them in that right format and be available for them. So I'm excited to work with the youth. I've got 4 boys that I worked with in my own family and been involved with the Boy Scouts for many, many years. So I see the opportunities there, and they're endless. I do think there are great opportunities to resurrect things like the Urban Forestry Institute moving forward for professionals in this state. I'm not a particularly well-savvied, experted person on social media. I combine it all into something I call Insta-chatagram, but we'll try to get better at that. Love to talk to Joe about the urban forestry courses on campus here. I've been involved with some on other campuses, and I know we've got some great opportunities here to keep working with that. And yeah, probably a big opportunity is to work with the universities and other research organizations to develop a better strategy to get the new research being done in this area out to the communities and the individuals that can use it. Next slide.
Seems to be stuck. There we go.
There we go. So I know it's, again, 40 years in forestry and 35 doing extension work. It is all about people and networks. And we have all of that in Maryland. And I'm super excited that we have a Maryland Urban Forest Council, that we have a Maryland Forest Association and a Forest Foundation that are supportive of urban forestry. That goes a long way when we have partners that support this and that desire this. So it's a huge win-win for everybody moving forward with this camp and with all sorts of other efforts. So I'll just wrap up here, Joe, with the next couple of slides, and just some examples I know of that I see that we have some great opportunities. We have faculty on our campus here in Maryland that are doing internationally renowned research on urban trees and green infrastructure and stormwater management techniques, but they're not outreach specialists. They present at conferences and they do what they can to present it at local affairs, but there's a massive amount of information at our universities that an extension program could really help get out to our communities and then close the loop by returning back to the research communities what our user community needs. So it's an exciting opportunity really to go into this field as well. So next slide. Again, Joe talked about the program on campus. Just a few of the others I've been involved with are at the University of Florida and University of Georgia. They have viable urban forestry programs, and I think we can learn from the best and continue to improve upon Maryland's urban forestry presence on campus. And I think that might be it, Joe, and I'll just leave everybody with my contact information if you could. There you go. And I think you can take a snapshot of that little QR code if you want to learn more information. That'd be great.
All right, thank you, Bill. We'll come back for questions in a moment. You know, the primary purpose of this talk was really the rationale behind the camp and the importance of urban forestry and why we need it and sort of the high level aspects of it. But we wanted to save a few minutes before we start with questions to actually go to camp. So let's go to camp and talk a little bit about what the students do. I'll just give you a quick snapshot of some of the things that they're involved with at the camp. And here you see one of the things they get. We went to the National Arboretum and had a great time in the bonsai collection, and they got a talk from Gary right here. So he didn't have his picture up earlier. So here he is talking to the students last year as well. So this may be a little bit small to see in detail, and that's okay, but this is the weekly schedule. Our camp this year, this is last year's 24th program. Our camp this year will start on July 13th. They'll come in on a Sunday afternoon. They'll do some registration. They'll sign up for the pool and the gym and get a little introduction. Go to dinner, and then they do some icebreakers and some games and programs at night. And then the program really starts Monday through Friday. And we have some lectures, as you might have seen, some pictures from the classroom. Bill gave some last year. We do lectures. We use the University of Maryland Arboretum extensively. Our campus is an arboretum. It's a Tree Campus USA, and it's an arboretum. We have a database with thousands of trees logged in it. We have a GPS located system that the students will learn to use so they can go find the biggest tree on campus, or they can look at memorial trees. We have a number of memorial trees that have been planted in memorial for others. Those are on there. They can find a tree they don't know what it is. They can play tree ID games. There's a variety of things that they can do right here on campus. So a lot of the work is centered on campus. We do a ropes course with them, a team building ropes course, which gets them up in the air a little bit. And then later in the week, Bartlett hosts a tree climbing clinic for them. So they actually get up in trees. You'll see some photos of that in a moment. We went to the National Arboretum. So we learned about trees. We go to parks and do tree care. We went to an urban food forest called Forested in Bowie, Maryland, run by a former urban forestry student of ours, by the way. So we do those things. We work with our researchers. We have researchers come in. Mike Raup does an insect walk where we identify pests and problems. We look at pathogens. We do a variety of things. A very busy schedule, as you can see. And I want to also point to Wednesday night, where we have career fair and career night. So any of you out there that are employers or with other institutes of higher learning, whatever level that may be. We would love to invite you now to Wednesday night's career night and come and talk to the kids about what opportunities exist and how you got to where you did. We talk about landscape architecture. DNR comes to present about their aspect on forest management in the state of Maryland and beyond. So we have a very broad program for the children that keeps them busy from basically morning to night, and they have activities at night as well. So a very busy time, and most of those things, other than the lectures and the trips, where Becky and the counselors went through, took care of them during those events. So just a couple of shots of what they actually do. You see, we do get them up in trees. They learn a little bit about safe tree climbing thanks to Bartlett, and they have a great time climbing the trees and enjoying it. We also go out to job sites, to commercial job sites, so they can actually see some of the other equipment, the lifts and the forks and the cranes and all those things in action, and the climbers, the professional climbers going up in the tree and doing their thing. So they get to experience a little bit of that. Here we were working with cultures of pathogens. So you might see some petri dishes over here. So the students actually spend a little bit of time in the lab to learn some of the pest and pathogen aspects of urban forest and trees as well. Here's a shot of Mike Raup doing his insect walk with them. Here's Mike. Many of you may know Mike, looking at bugs, looking at insects. What's that? What's the harm of that bug? What can we do to get rid of the bug? Or is it a friendly, right? So we learn all the aspects of IPM, various aspects of pests and pathogens. We broadened the experience out really wide too. One of the things the students enjoyed was a tour of our athletic fields. So you think, wait, this is urban forestry. What do fields have to do with it? Well, we're looking at the whole broad and urban environment, the interaction between playing fields and public fields and trees and parks is so important in the urban setting. And the students got a firsthand look at the state-of-the-art fields, from artificial turf to full turf. We also go over, we have a prairie. At the University of Maryland, you might not know, we have actually little blue stem and big blue stem. So they look at grasslands and prairies and how those might interact with forest. So we take a very broad approach to forestry. They don't just look at single trees all week. We broaden the horizon for them. Here's just a shot of them on campus talking about the layout of the campus, the design. How did the campus come to look like it did? Where are the trees? Did the trees get planted, or were they just left over where they didn't cut them down when they build the building? How do we handle the master plan for that? We have a farm on campus, so they visit the campus farm as well to see how that all integrates with people, trees, and forests, right? So it's the whole landscape aspect of that. And so what's new for 2025? We got a new director, as you've heard, Bill. Bill's going to do a wonderful job being the primary driving force of the program. I work a little bit more behind the scenes trying to help arrange things and get things together. But Bill's going to be the face of the program, which I'm really excited about that, as he mentioned. We're expanding our emphasis on DC this year. We'll be visiting Casey Tree. We're working with DC Urban Forestry. We'll go back to the U.S. National Arboretum, which was really the only time we spent in DC last year. So we're looking for a whole day and some other exciting experiences that we're working on developing there. So DC, we're pretty much suburban, we're not heavy urban, but we want to get them down into the real urban areas and look at what's going on in Washington. So many exciting things going on with urban forestry there. So we're developing a full day in Washington. Again, I mentioned the career night. If any of you are employers out there, educators out there, we would love to have you attend to that. Please let us know. I don't think I did not put a QR code for my information, but I think perhaps it's in the literature. So we're excited about 2025. We're enrolling students now. Students are applying now. If you don't know how to apply and you're interested, you can contact me. You can contact Bill, Gary, and his office. We'll be glad to do that for you. So that's a quick overview of what we do, and like to leave some time for questions, which I think we've done. So thank you for coming. Thank you for attendance. And Megan will take any questions that have surfaced.
Great, thank you. Yeah, great overview, and we will keep an eye out. So far we haven't had any questions from our audience as of yet, but folks do please feel welcome to enter those at any time. I guess kind of to start off the discussion, if there are particular lessons learned from last year that you wanted to go into any detail on, I'd be curious to hear what you thought worked really well, things that you might change a little bit more going forward.
Well, we thought the program went very well. The one thing that we can't change was July heat. It was the hottest week of the summer, I think. So we had to keep in mind the safety of the kids and making sure they were well hydrated and protected from the sun and had their sunscreen on and had their bug things, had their bug juice on. The one thing that they particularly enjoyed in the urban environment, and I didn't put a slide of that in there for some reason, that was a lapse on me, was we have some faculty that have radio collars on deer. So we went out and looked for some of their urban deers, and they thought that was really a cool experience. And they learned a little bit about wildlife management in urban areas and why the good and the bad of deer. And they actually found one in a backyard that had a small fawn with it. So they were really excited to find that. So we incorporate technology in the program as well. I guess my point is that they really like the technology. They like the radio collars and they like to be able to track them. So I think one thing we learned is how popular that was. And taking care of the heat. Otherwise, it went really well. We have great facilities on campus. They stay in an air-conditioned dorm. The meals are phenomenal. For those of you that may not have been in a college cafeteria for a while, they are nothing like Bill and I ate when we went to college. So we have great facilities for the students to enjoy while they're here. Bill, please jump into any comments you want to make.
Yeah, I would have said the same thing. I think those that love hot weather, it was perfect, but keep hydrated. The kids actually ended up like they ended up figuring out ways to entertain themselves. If there was a little bit of downtime, you could start to see some class leaders as you go throughout the week. So I think just as interactive as possible, right, Joe, is the most important thing. And I mean, I had to talk about urban forest inventory and putting monetary values on trees, and that I'll have to find a better way to do that because there were some snoozers during my little lecture.
We try to minimize the classroom time and maximize the experiential part, the outside part, because these are high school students. They don't really want to sit in and listen to folks like me and Bill as you see us there. So we try to break that up with a lot of active things that they do, keep
Yeah.
them on the move. Yeah.
They did really enjoy the Mike Raup's kind of CSI on insects outside too. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think a lot of like seasoned professionals really enjoy bug walks as well. We got to do one up here in Baltimore with your colleague Karen Burkhart came through, and
Karen's involved also.
Yeah, she did a great job, and it's just a whole new way of looking at things for those of us who tend to be more focused at the macro scale. So yeah, fun for the kids to be able to participate in that. And Gary included a reminder for us in the chat. So for people who may know a student who's interested, we want to make sure that we direct them on over to the application, which is over on the Maryland Forestry Foundation website as well. So yes, those who are watching, if you have anyone in your life who might be interested in exploring some career opportunities for high school students, please do send them our way, have them take a look.
So we had one, I'll add, we had one student that didn't go to Maryland, but that's fine. One student that left us and went to Virginia Tech in forestry there. So we have a future forester and hopefully urban forester out of that. We had two of the college age counselors One was an urban forestry major who was already in, and another one has ended up working with Bartlett, who was in a totally different major, but she got so excited that she did an intern. She's doing an internship with Bartlett Tree. So we converted a couple, at least one of the counselors, and had at least one of the students that are on their way to learning more.
That's great. Yeah. Have you heard any word from other students as well? Like I know that if they're like maybe if there were, say, juniors or sophomores in the crew, then there might still be a little bit of a lag in terms of when they're applying for colleges. But
Yeah.
have they kept in touch?
Oops, oh, somehow we got. I
Nope,
guess it's
just
okay.
curious.
I think I hit that by accident, but I guess that's okay to cut the sharing off. So I haven't heard too much, but we do have some students that want to come back. We've tried to decide
Great.
what we can do for a second year for students that want to come back. We didn't really design it with a progressional thing, but we're going to kind of try to bring them in as helpers and assistants and give them some added experience if they come back again. Yeah.
And since Gary has come back off on video, Gary, did you have a couple discussion topics that you wanted to bring up as well?
Well, I was very pleased, frankly, to hear the summary that Joe and Bill provided about their experiences that led to their decision to get involved in urban forestry to a greater degree than perhaps their original interests may have encouraged them. I was also pleased that Joe highlighted the current program and the application process. And I want to remind people that we are currently accepting applicants for the program. Our goal is 40 students for the summer of 2025. The program is widely supported by our partners, of which Joe has highlighted several of them. I want to just mention one other that I don't want to overlook, and that is the Sustainable Maryland program at the Environmental Finance Center on
Yeah.
campus. We've worked closely with local governments in the state of Maryland, particularly municipal governments, to encourage them to see this program as a potential future resource for their recruitment of staff. We really believe that urban forestry is a growing edge of the forestry profession because more and more Americans, almost 90% of all Americans, live in metropolitan areas. And obviously, a defining feature of their quality of life is green infrastructure and access to it in their living in the area that they live in. And so it's maintenance, protection, kind of strengthening it to the current growing number of threats that affect its viability and health are very important. And this program is designed to introduce a variety of career choices. I was particularly pleased that Joe emphasized the career night aspect of it, where a number of different universities, not just the
Right.
University of Maryland, which is our host institution, get a chance to talk about their programs as a part of this work. So if you are familiar with a student who's interested, if you are interested in working with us to expand general information's availability about the program, I want you to reflect on this particular webinar today as an opportunity to get more involved in urban and community forestry in the Washington metropolitan region. It is not restricted just to residents of Maryland. It is open to states throughout the eastern seaboard. We've seen actually even a couple students apply from the West Coast in the past year. We're very anxious to get as diverse and broad a student body representation as possible. This is a pilot program. Last year was our first year of this pilot. This is our second year. Our current commitment involves a 3-year pilot to demonstrate the efficacy of interest and viability of the program to introduce students to a variety of career choices in urban and community forestry. These pilots are designed to lead to an ongoing permanent program that we hope will be supported by the partners themselves in the future, because currently the foundation is committed to its finance for the pilot years. And we're looking forward to helping to maintain this program in the future. So let's emphasize that that partnership arrangement we have with DC Forestry, with Davy and Bartlett Trees, with the Maryland state government, particularly the Department of Natural Resources and the Forest Service, and the other partners, is particularly important in helping sustain this program in the future. We are really excited to be building a stronger relationship with this work and the Extension Service. And Bill's service this year is an important step forward in helping to expand the visibility and commitment of the program. I wanted to mention one other partner that will show up for the first time this year, and that is the National Arbor Day Foundation. So for the first time, we've been in touch with them and their Urban Forestry Partners Conference for the last 15 years and participated in that program. And this year we asked them to join us in support of this program. Our conversations with them over the past few months have led us to believe that this program is one of the first in the nation to make available this kind of a program for high school students, to introduce them to the options that are available at a growing number of universities across the country, but particularly here on the East Coast. Obviously, urban forestry is a little bit different than traditional forests and forest natural resources career programs, as Bill Hubbard emphasized in his comments and his own learning experience in Florida and Georgia, etc. The examples that these gentlemen have shared and the program itself highlights and reinforces the fact that there are a number of career options that are available to students in the future. And we're looking for students from sophomore, juniors, and seniors. We're really limiting freshmen a little bit, because what we've noticed is that freshmen and seniors and rising seniors, so to speak, into college are quite different animals when it comes to their participation in on-campus programs. So we're really emphasizing a kind of the higher end of that at this particular point in the pilot programs. But frankly, if you're interested, if you want to get involved, if you want to support the expansion and visibility of these efforts, reach out to us. There are, as Joe's mentioned in his comments, opportunities on the website with email addresses for us to get in contact with you. Currently, I'm excited to say here at the close of this particular webinar that we already have 18 students for the coming year's program. So we're well on the way to full enrollment. I hope that you or people you know about, students who you're familiar with, or your organization will help this program grow in the weeks ahead. Thank you very much, Megan, for the opportunity to provide a brief overview of our perspective from the foundation about why we're open to this idea and want to see it expanded.
Gary, let me just add really quickly, we envision a 4-credit model as well, so students can get a jump start on their college career and come out of this camp with credits once we get through the pilot stage. So that'll be another plus that's coming up.
Amen. To that, Joe, actually, we had hoped to move more quickly in that direction, and only the present fiscal climate has prevented us from moving in that direction more rapidly. As you know, things are a bit of a chaos at the state and national level, and those are areas that we look to support. Obviously, if there are private partners or other foundations that are willing to step forward and offer us some help, we can expand the program, because the opportunity is available. It's just a question of how to address it more effectively. Megan, is there any
Right.
questions you had based on your experience in becoming an urban forester that you would like to reflect on, and how a program like this might have benefited you? Because I know Bill and Joe have talked about their kind of career path into urban forestry, but it might be helpful to at least spend a minute or two on how you got to be an urban forester.
Sure, yeah, and I think as Joe and Bill both alluded to, everyone's path is pretty different, and yeah, I'm definitely in that same lack of model. So I came through by kind of a roundabout fashion, and and so really didn't end up kicking off my urban forestry career until my mid-30s. And honestly, exposure to something like this, an opportunity like this, if it had been something that had been offered to me when I was a teenager, I could have been doing this much sooner, which that would have been great, but I'm still happy where I am. So can't complain and can't jump in the time machine. But but yeah, no, I think it's really exciting that younger kids are getting more exposure to a field that there is a lot of demand for professionals in, and demand for solid education on, and being able to just build that kind of stairway for more folks to climb up more easily is really exciting, and it's going to be great to see how that shakes out over the next few years. I think it's part of a larger trend where, as an industry, we're focusing a lot more resources and attention on the need for this kind of career development. So yeah, excited to see Maryland having some really strong leadership in to that end, especially at the high school level.
Amen to that. Your participation in this program and others has been a blessing to the foundation. We're very, very grateful for it, and your own work has really added additional insight into the experiences that we've been able to offer in these programs. So thank you very much, particularly as your moderator for the webinar series. It's been really, really wonderful to work with you these past 3 years. Perhaps here in the closing 2 minutes, if I want to offer Joe or Bill a chance to make any closing comments, and then I'll make a comment about what lies ahead in the webinar series.
Just thank you for attending, and if you would like more information, please don't hesitate to ask. We'd love to have you involved. We'd love to have you at the camp. Gary, Megan, thanks for giving us this opportunity.
Indeed, yeah, and again, it takes a village, so let's would love to hear from each and every one of the participants on advice they have, input they want to provide, or show up to the camp. We'll find some free parking for you.
Amen to that.
Maybe
I don't know about it. Yeah.
we'll find
Parking.
parking for you.
Parking
Joe,
runs.
Joe has codes.
Well, let me mention one last thing that I probably overlooked, and that is there is a modest cost to this program. While the foundation supports about 95% of the costs for the program, we do ask that every applicant have a little bit of skin in the game. We've learned some hard lessons, having sponsored camps for students over the last 50 years. In cooperation with the state's forestry boards, a natural resources careers camp is immediately available after this in a rural setting as opposed to an on-campus setting. And the cost of the program for student participation is $150. And that helps guarantee that actually people show up. It helps make sure that people don't see it as simply a free ride. And so I simply want to say to you that you can make the application. You have to have recommendations and a little bit of resource information to show that you actually have an interest and commitment to being a part of a program like this. And we'd welcome hearing from you as soon as possible about your prospective participation or support for the program. This program is part of a series, as the overall Framing the Future webinar is a series of programs. It's now in its over 40 reincarnations, I suppose, over the last 3 years. We're looking forward to really some excellent programs in this next few months. Next month, we'll have the opportunity to hear from what are called our Mel Fellows. These are students who are actually involved in higher education programs throughout the state of Maryland. And that program, you have to be a resident of Maryland to participate. We actually offer higher education fellowships. And this year we have 4 Merrill Fellows at different universities, settings throughout Maryland and West Virginia, as a matter of fact, I think is one of them. And they'll be here next month on the 3rd Thursday at 1 o'clock to talk about their experiences over the past year. And in June, looking ahead just in one additional month, we'll be talking about what was our our largest program for the foundation here in the state of Maryland, and that is Healthy Forest, Healthy Waters. It is a turnkey program about tree planting on private lands. It is the state's largest turnkey program to plant trees on private lands. It's funded and supported through the Maryland 5 Million Tree Program. And that program has, well, this year alone, will plant about 88,000 trees on private properties, and this year in about a dozen counties on more than 50 sites. It's one of our premier commitments on private forest expansion in Maryland as a part of Maryland's climate change commitment under its climate action objectives set by the past 5 administrations. And the Moore administration has continued to support that despite the heavy, what can I say, budget constraints that currently exist here in the state. But the governor's been very helpful in helping to protect these kinds of initiatives so that Maryland continues to be a leader in commitments to its climate change objectives. I want to encourage all of you to tune in each Thursday, 3rd Thursday of each month, for one of our future programs in Framing the Future. I think you'll find that our planning ahead will be very rewarding, and you'll see some exciting opportunities in the year ahead. We're really looking ahead at what's likely to be on the cutting edge of the decisions affecting the future of forestry in Maryland. Megan, if there's no more to add, I want to thank our panelists today, Joe and Bill. And Bill will be certainly working with you closely as the new face of the Urban Forestry Careers Camp. And Joe, thank you very much for providing an overview of the content of the program. And we'll be in touch with both of you in the days ahead about the implementation of these details.
Sounds great. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, friends. And Megan, see you again next month.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
care.
thanks everyone. Bye.
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 Have a good day, friends. Bye-bye.